much of the coffee supplement do you guys drink in a day?
The coffee supplement? As much as I can, whenever I'm bored. Probably, realistically, 3 cups a day, 2 or 3 cups, something like that, maybe more.
I've had coffee or real caffeine for my whole life, probably. I just drink it as a joke, maybe when I was like 10 years old, but I was just kind of steal it from my dad.
Yeah. I'll have like 1 cup a day. I used to be a fiend. When I used to bike race, I would easily have 6 to 8 cups a day. Usually like 4 in the morning and then 4 in the afternoon. But yeah, now I have 1 a day. It's a little bit more, a little more reasonable.
Why should I lift weights if I'm just trying to lose weight?
You want to jump?
No, go ahead.
You take this.
You looked excited.
That's always the best one because people think that if you're lifting weights, you're trying to, you're trying to like get huge. But I think it's fantastic because if you're losing weight, first of all, weight training is a great way to teach your body just functional movements, which I think is really understated when it comes to exercise. Like if you jump on a cardio machine, if you jump on a bike, or you jump on a treadmill, your exercise routine now just becomes all about calories. It's just burning calories, which isn't the same as, exercising with a purpose. So why not do the best
And
of
you're
both
fixed,
worlds?
like you're saying, like no functional movement, you're just fixed on say, an elliptical.
Yeah, and like it just becomes like people looking to see, oh, I've been on the elliptical for 20 minutes or whatever. It's like
Just killing time.
But I think that as soon as you start to do exercise, it adds a little bit of muscle mass to your body. You start to burn calories really quickly. So, it's a lot more metabolically costly for the body to hold on to muscle.
Right.
So you don't have to throw on a ton, but to get those muscles working and to maybe get a little bit of hypertrophy going, it's huge for fat loss and for body composition.
Nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I would have said.
Yeah. Next question.
As a 50-year-old athlete, do I need more recovery? Also, what do 50-plus athletes need to consider when training for sport?
Oh yeah,
That's
so this
by
came
Jeff.
from an athlete of mine, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to throw that one in there specifically for you guys, kind of talk about it a little bit and see if you had a different angle.
Yeah.
Sure. I find for maybe the older population that are continue to be active, it's not too much needs to change in my opinion, as long as you've kind of steadily been kind of training throughout your whole life. I find lots of times probably people who jump in maybe sports in their later years that aren't active, they kind of, like I was saying before, they kind of don't have that mobility that they do growing up. So then you kind of had that risk for injury more so than people that kind of have that mobility or maintain that mobility through their life. So that could be one thing to kind of take into consideration is just how your body moves, or kind of building those years of potentially working a desk or something where maybe bad movement patterns have been developed, kind of breaking out of that habit or finding kind of ways to kind of counteract that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I thought there was a really good one specifically for you, Dan. This is a guy that I coach. He's a pretty good athlete, pretty competitive cyclist. He's doing everything. He's doing cyclocross, he's doing mountain biking, he's doing road stuff, and he's pretty good. And so I think this is definitely talking about someone that's a little bit more on the top end of an older athlete. So yeah, what do you think he should consider for recovery?
I really like what you hit on. Like you got it with the. I think people don't understand that 50 years you take on a lot of physical baggage with that, right? You've probably been working a desk job potentially. Maybe you're working construction. Maybe you're, maybe it's a 50-year-old housewife who's been looking after kids, or maybe it's someone who's been athletic and moving their whole life, right? And they're kind of maintaining that. So there's a ton that goes into figuring out what makes a good program for someone. But when it comes to older athletes, and I still don't even consider 50 to be old.
Yeah.
But as you get pretty much outside of your early 30s, you get a pretty significant change in a lot of your hormone function. And I think the biggest thing that gets kind of underappreciated is the need for really good, really well planned out recovery after your sessions. And it's just a fact that your connective tissue and your muscles, they just don't repair and regenerate as well when you get a little bit older. It's not a personal thing, but It's just everybody is going to have a little bit less a little bit more of a harder time kind of bouncing back from workouts. So
Right.
I find actually a lot of the 50, like anywhere between 45 to 50 year olds, when they come in and they're hurting, I'll take a good look at their program and say, hey, you need to like give yourself a rest. You can't train the way you were when you were in your 20s.
Right.
Because like you can train like an idiot when you're 20 and still be okay. You'll get like aches and pains, but your body is super resilient at that point. So I really think the biggest thing is taking a good look at recovery and almost tackling that with more enthusiasm than you do your workouts, and saying like, you know, I'm going to do this really tough strength session, but afterwards, man, I'm going to like throw my legs up, I'm going to get a good meal, I'm going to get my 8 hours of sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Lots of like just the simple small things.
Right.
But we quickly fall into that mentality of like more is better all the time. So that's what that would be the best advice. And so there are almost like two questions in there too. One is like, what do I have to consider when I'm like a 50 plus athlete? And then the other one is, what about for sport?
Right.
So
yeah.
particularly for sport, if it's cycling.
Yeah, he's training 3 days
Yeah.
a week plus in here in the weight room.
Yeah, and
Twice
so
a week.
and that's why recovery is like, as a biker myself, like sport is a pretty excessive thing, right? Like there's nothing really truly healthy about competitive sport.
Yeah.
Like whether it's baseball, whether you're a pitcher, you know, or you're a cyclist and you're training all the time, like, you know, pitchers have a pitch count. They have a certain amount of pitches they're allowed to throw because they know the longevity of their arm is just they're gonna be spiraling out of control if they start to, you know, throw 200, 300, 400 pitches and not get the proper recovery. So that's pretty key. And then the other thing for sport is also the fact that you know, every sport has different demands. So I love the idea of weight training regardless of what your sport is, because you're going to be really confined to what that particular sport's demands are. And you can actually improve those by training stuff outside of it.
Yeah.
So this idea of sports specificity,
Yeah.
I think is kind of like, it's run a little bit outside of, and maybe it's kind of run amok for some people.
Yeah.
Because I've seen cyclists come in and they're training with a super narrow stance to try and, you know, do their squats to replicate their position on a bike, and the irony is that it ends up just kind of making them a little bit more exposed to injury and overtraining and things like that.
And that's kind of like part of the foundation of CrossFit's philosophy, like general physical preparedness, usually translate out into performance in almost all sports. And then I just was reading something from Louis Simmons the other day talking, there's just a quick little quote that is probably notable here, where he said, it was like train general to improve specific. It was something as simple as that. And then he went off on a tangent, but yeah, basically just like you're saying, you don't need to be sport specific with your training. Anyways, we kind of got off of recovery there, but yeah, next one.